Oh, he almost tripped! He almost tripped! Oh my God, that would have been perfect! The ghosts of Palestinian children tripped you on your way up to the stage, you loser. That step was Hamas. Standing ovation for the baby butcher of Gaza, the United States of Israel. Let's hear our president speak. He's like, let me assume a great
Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
Mike Johnson?
Senator Ben Cardin.
You're Johnson? He just
Minority
references
Leader
Johnson. Why would he
Jeffries.
do that? He just gave a shout out to his Johnson.
Senators, we meet today at a crossroads of history. Our world is in upheaval. In the Middle East, Iran's axis of terror confronts America.
All the hits.
This is not a clash of civilizations. It's a clash between barbarism and civilization.
Oh, yes, it must be barbarism. Yes, of course. These backward, savage people, right? It's not a clash of civilizations. It's the destruction of a civilization by this baby butcher. It only took him 3.5 seconds to reference the axis of terror. Look at Mitch McConnell. Look how fucking decrepit he looks. Look at that. He needs some KFC. He needs some Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Between those who glorify death and those who sanctify life.
I mean, again, world's smartest Zionists project their own crimes onto their victims, right? He's saying they glorify death as this man's committing a genocide. But no, it's the Palestinians that glorify death. We'll never forgive them for murdering their children.
For the forces of civilization to triumph, America and Israel must stand together.
Oh my God, this is such a bloodthirsty, psychopathic, carnivorous circus. It's disgusting.
Because when we stand together, something very simple happens.
Notice, he's got his elbow on the podium. A show of strength. I'm leaning in.
Win, they lose.
We win, they lose.
And my friends, I came to assure you today of one thing. We will win.
I'm severely desperate. That's why I'm here. I'm hanging on by a thread. My political career's over.
Ladies and gentlemen, like December 7th, 1941.
Oh God, here we go.
And September 11th, 2001.
Here we go, October 7th.
October 7th is a day that will forever live in infamy.
Oh, he's like playing upon the American imagination, the American tradition, right? The day that will live in infamy. He's invoking FDR in his speech here. It's the same as 9/11. It's the same as Pearl Harbor. This is our own little Pearl Harbor over here in Israel. October 7th was our Pearl Harbor. And I am FDR. Amazing.
It was the Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah.
Oh God, it was a bright sunny day. I remember there was children laughing, music was playing, and then all of a sudden these savage murderers, these destroyers of civilization came for no reason, and they butchered us.
It began as a perfect day, not a cloud in the sky.
Not a cloud in the sky. I told you, a bright sunny day.
Israelis were celebrating.
This is exactly what Donald Trump did in his speech when he was recollecting his moment of truth, his come to Jesus moment when he was shot in the ear. He was like, well, it was a bright sunny day. The crowd was magnificent, the people were laughing and having a good time, and then all of a sudden, I shit my pants.
An outdoor music festival.
Yeah, which the Israeli government made sure to have that day, the same day that they knew that Hamas had planned this military raid. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that interesting? And not only that, it's without uncertainty that Israel fired upon its own civilians, and the majority of civilians that were killed that day were because of Israel's Hannibal Directive, which was reinstated within hours of the October 7th raid.
Suddenly, at 6:29 a.m., as children were still sleeping soundly in their beds in the towns and kibbutzim next to Gaza.
Baby Jesus was all asleep. I mean, I can you imagine? I mean, this dude is talking about children sleeping soundly, and it's exactly when they're sleeping soundly that this murders them. He waits for children to be sleeping to bomb them. That's another thing that's verified by publications like 972, that they waited. Thank God for AI, right? Because with AI, we can generate automated lists of people to kill, and we can GPS track them through their phones, and whenever that phone goes to its home at night, we know that whoever's there, and we're going to bomb them at 5 a.m.
Heaven turned into hell. 3,000 Hamas terrorists stormed into
Heaven
Israel.
for who? Peace through occupation, you heard Alon Leal say, the former Israeli ambassador to South Africa. He says, Israelis no longer believe that we need peace with security. We can have security without peace. In other words, we can have our little ethnic apartheid state, and we can occupy Palestine, and we can, just as long as we keep them under control with our military, everything's fine. We don't really even notice that there's an occupation, really. So what's the big deal?
They butchered 1,200 people from 41 countries, proportionately compared to our population size. That's like 20 9/11s in one day.
20 9/11s in one day. Holy sh*. What's the number 200,000 or 186,000 civilians dead? How many 9/11s is that? How many decades has Israel occupied the Gaza Strip? How many 9/11s would that be? How many 9/11s happened in 2014 in Operation Protective Edge? What about Operation Cast Lead?
And these
Monsters.
They rape women.
No, they don't. No, they don't. That's a lie. There's no evidence that Hamas grapes. It's been discounted by his own publications in Israel. So it's another lie, right? Just gonna go up there and fucking lie through his teeth while he savagely murders hundreds of thousands of civilians, the majority of which are literally babies, are literally children, are women and children.
They beheaded men.
They
burnt babies alive.
No, they didn't. Think about Rafah. What about the refugee tent camp that you bombed in Rafah about a month ago? Or 2 months ago, maybe it was now. And we all saw the image of the beheaded child being held up by, we're guessing, his father. The fact that he's trying to, speak about violence to children, I mean, it's just utterly despicable.
They killed parents in front of their children.
Those were gunship helicopters commandeered by the Israeli diaper forces.
In front of their parents. They dragged 255 people, both living and dead,
this is
into
such
the dark dungeons
propagandistic
of Gaza.
Why do you think logically that Hamas wanted to take hostages? And why is it specifically Israel's formal policy to not let Hamas take hostages? Why does Israel kill its own civilians? Why does it kill its own soldiers that have been captured by Hamas or compromised? Because they don't want to give up the hostages that they have. How many people are detained in Israeli prisons unlawfully without due process who are being tortured? How many Palestinians? It's at least 10,000. It might even be tens of thousands. I think it's way more than 4,000. I want to say it's like around 10,000 is what I heard, but I'm willing to be proven wrong. He's trying to, emotionally manipulate, saying 9/11 is nothing compared to what happened. Well, right. It's saying 10/7 is on the order of the magnitude of 20 times worse than 9/11. 10,000 prisoners only since October 7th, let alone, and I was really just trying to reference how many before. But this is the thing about Israeli propaganda, Israeli Hasbara. You have to believe that history started on October 7th. It was a bright, blue, sunny day. Nothing was wrong. Everything was fine, okay? Well, everything was not fine, okay? In fact, the entire world knows that nothing was fine on October 6th. And, I always bring up that in May, the UN was already reporting it was the deadliest year for the West Bank. That was in the West Bank. Just the West Bank, Palestinians were being killed at an alarming rate by the diaper forces. And, chuds want to say that there was a ceasefire. Well, what happened to the ceasefire on October? There was no ceasefire. What are you talking about? What ceasefire? They're clipping off Palestinian men, women, and children, just like they've been doing for decades now, and they're still doing. And you think that everything was just peachy before October 7th. That's not at all, absolutely not at all what was happening. It doesn't take a smart person to just look and see. It's just like it's blaming slaves for their own, subjugation. It's pretty gross. It's pretty disgusting.
35 of these hostages, including 7 who were freed in daring rescue operations.
They're still talking about October 7th is July 24th in the next year. November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. It's been 9 months. Over 9 months since October 7th. And in that span, you've had one massacre after another every day, amounting to what the international community has called a genocide and an ethnic cleansing, and is indeed an apartheid state and has been. And this mother still talking about October 7th. We must never forget. Everything is justified. We could blow up the world, okay, because of October 7th. What's hilarious is that the man responsible for October 7th, crybaby Netanyahu, through his policies and his predecessors' policies, they created the geopolitical situation that it is today. They bear the responsibility for October 7th. Because when you occupy people, the resistance of occupied people is justified. What's the really clever quote we could whittle it down to? Forget it. It's like resistance is justified. When people are occupied, resistance is justified. Something like that. Now give us 40 billion. That's right. I know that's my Biden moment. You know the thing, man. Guy's so cooked. It's Jover and it's bend over for Benny Boy. This is a big PR stunt, you know, as I have learned. This is to show his constituents back home, the Israeli people included, that he's got the United States on his side. Look at that. He just went and spoke in the greatest halls of democracy. He's got bipartisan support. Look at this. He's trying to save his political career, like I say.
Making their way back to our lines.
Look at Elon Musk. Look at Apartheid Clyde made it. Oh, yeah, he's there. He showed up. He showed up and he showed out. Yes, for the baby butcher of Gaza. Thank God we have Apartheid Clyde in the stands. Why is he not in front row? He's way up in there in the gallery? What a fucking broke dick. He couldn't afford the front row seats? He's got the cheap seats? Apartheid Clyde, you fell off.
Nixon ordered Cambodian genocide when sent cruise missiles to Sudan, people died. Gave the orders to do drone strikes.